Anxiety. This is particularly because the situation that, when we look across to the mainland, things seem to be getting tricky. In Jersey, numbers up and down. We've just heard now that there's going to be a press conference with Dr. Ivan Muscat and the Chief Minister. In Guernsey, okay, life is easier. That is for sure easier than most places. But the truth of the matter is there are still challenges. Getting on and off island, well, it is more complicated. It might mean that Christmas doesn't look quite how it usually does. And so anxiety, well, it is a time that anxiety perhaps is a little bit higher than it usually is. So we've been doing our little mini series. Yesterday, we spoke to psychotherapist John Hawker about the sort of mechanics of it all. But today I want to have a chat about the types of things that we can actually do, some techniques, simple techniques that we can do to help ourselves. And the person that's going to be helping us with that is Steve Warmby. He is a breathing and compassions practitioner. Let me also tell you, he's part of Jersey Government Psychology and Wellbeing Service, and he joins us now. Steve, lovely to have you with us. Thank you for coming on. Well, I'm imagining that you meet people all the time that are trying to figure out how to make life easier. What's the one thing that you feel that should be taught to all of us at schools that isn't?
Oh, hi. I think the first thing really is to learn how to be present. We're so used to distractions, particularly nowadays. It's everywhere, mobile phones, all sorts of things. And just being able to be present with ourselves, with the world around us, and also with other people is just so difficult. But actually, it really is the starting point for compassion for others, gratitude, and all these other positive emotions.
So what does being present mean to you?
If you think of Dan Siegel, who's a neuropsychiatrist, and Tina Bryson, who's a psychotherapist, they have an acronym which is PEACE, which is about being present. So the P is for being physically present. So that's about being available.
Yeah.
So we don't usually spend time with ourselves. We're usually just doing things all the time. Mm-hmm. So just having an opportunity to pause and just check in with ourselves, but also with other people. The E then is for engagement. And that's really about engaging, not just verbally, it's communicating through our gestures, our posture, our tone of voice. And that can be our inner tone of voice. So rather than this harsh critic, is to have this more gentler inner coach. The A then is affection. So that's about kindness to our experience and to other people. The C then is for calm. So even though at the moment there's so much going on, there's so much change and chaos sometimes, it's about trying to remain steady and just allowing these things just to come and go. And then the final E then is empathy. So for other people, that's resonating with how they're experiencing things. But for ourselves, it's really about validating our own experience rather than judging and thinking we should be different.
It's brilliant to have that as a tool, just remembering peace, physically present, engagement, gesture and posture, affection to our experience, calm and empathy. Brilliant way of remembering it. When you talk about being physically present, it is very interesting that we have become very used to doing things. And if I think back to my dad, he's always busy doing things, but I think the difference between his doing and my doing is that when he's doing, he's fully engaged in what he's doing, whereas my doing is much more about, I just do this on the phone and then I'm doing that. And is that the difference that you're talking about?
Yeah, that's a big difference. So sometimes people, when they're really engaged in something that they're passionate about, they're in that state of flow, which is very similar to mindfulness or meditating. Whereas often a lot of the things that are designed for us now are very much sort of quick hit. Sort of like if you think of social media, and then we can be distracted 1 minute, and then we're on to something else, and then we can get to something else, something on TV, and there's so much going on, and we're often changing quite quickly from one thing to another, rather than really being present in something that we're really passionate about. A lot of the activities in the past, which didn't depend so much on technology, were much more naturally sort of activities where you can be present and engaged.
But I mean, part of that, I think, and I could be totally wrong, is that you were kind of actively involved. So it was your brain that was involved, your hands would be involved, your physical being would be involved. That things were more practical back then, which they're not so much now.
No, it's true. And one of the difficulties, particularly in lockdown, is that a lot of the things that we would be doing, which would be good for our well-being, such as getting out and meeting people, exercising, going to gyms, going to theatres, and all those things that often had a lot of meaning. We're less able to do those things, so it does put more pressure on what we can be doing, and it does sort of lead more into technology because that's what's available.
Yeah, true enough. So, look, Steve, I mean, we do hear this kind of term, let's be present, try and be present and all of that stuff. The truth of the matter is it's not the easiest thing to do. So let's be candid about this. How many hours of the day are you present?
Well, no, it's certainly not as much as I would like. I mean, the research, quite big research in America, showed that most of the time we're only about, I think it's almost 50% present. The other times we're actually distracted. We're not actually engaged and present with what we're doing. And we know that when we're more present, it increases our level of happiness, even if what we're doing isn't that interesting. So there's a real need to start to develop this sense of presence or mindfulness.
Tell me how you feel when you're present.
Well, when I'm truly present, then I'm aware, so I can be present and aware of something that's pleasant, and I can savour it. So like if I'm eating something, or if I'm walking in nature or spending time with my dogs, I can be really savouring that. But at other times when things are difficult, I can be present in a particular way. So I'm noticing, I'm not trying to push away difficult emotions, I'm acknowledging they're there, and I'm bringing a sense of compassion to the fact that it's difficult right now. So rather than what we normally do is try and escape and push it away, it's just trying to learn over time just to be present and accept this is how it is right now, rather than wishing it was different.
I've been trying to, when I'm feeling anxious, which I have been over these last few weeks, when I can remember, I'm trying to almost like sit more into the feelings of anxiety, which I know sounds like a weird thing, and it's things that I've read, so it's words that I've heard people say or read, which didn't make sense to me.
No.
But I have slowly started to manage somehow to feel that, and it does make a difference, but it's really hard to do. Are there easier ways to try and get in touch with those feelings to then get that release afterwards?
I think the main thing is to think about, why am I doing what I'm doing, and if it's meaningful, then that gives you the drive. If it's something that you value, it gives you the drive to push through and do something that perhaps you would normally avoid. So there are some certain things that we can do to help us feel more grounded. So one of the things I like, which is easy to remember, is breathe in through your nose and wiggle your toes. So often when I'm feeling anxious, just doing that, breathing in and noticing the breath go in, and at the same time just wiggling my toes. And we know something as simple as that just has an effect on the emotional part of the brain, just allowing some sense of soothing. But it's just, with things like coming onto the radio, my heart will be pounding. It's about recognising, why am I doing this? Is it meaningful to do something like this? And so I'll sort of, rather than my emotions dictate what I do, I choose my values to dictate what I do. And it's hard work, but over a period of time, the sort of emotions start to lose a little bit of power. You almost feel a little bit more in control. But it doesn't go away, and that's one of the problems. Often people think, I need to get rid of anxiety, rather than actually I need to do something that's meaningful and allow anxiety to be there on the journey.
Oh, that is such a wonderful thing to say. I love it, and it is true. Coming on the radio, it is a bit nerve-wracking, isn't it?
Yeah, very.
Are you all right now? Are you wiggling your toes right now?
Oh, I have been, yes. Definitely.
I just tried to wiggle my toes, and I tell you what, Steve, it makes me giggle a little bit. I don't know what's going on. About beautiful days, or at least creating a little bit more beauty in your day, and perhaps just being that little bit kinder to yourselves. Like give yourself a break. Steve, how do you give yourself a break? Can you give me like 3 tips on being kind to yourself?
Yeah, I think the first thing, which is really difficult, is to actually remember to do it. So if you have a natural time when, it might be when you brush your teeth or when you have a particular meal, just as a reminder, just to pause. So I think that's the first thing, because so often we're just caught in our automatic pilot. We just rush through the day. So first thing is to just take that pause. The second thing then is to do a check-in. So just as we might check through the windows in the morning to see what the weather's like, we can do a check-in internally. So we might notice, what are my emotions at the moment? Am I aware of any particular thoughts or sensations? And then from that, it might guide us into what we need. So if we're really struggling, the question is, what do I need to take care of myself? And then the third tip really is to incorporate it into everyday activities. So we don't have to sit on a cushion and meditate. We can be mindful when we're eating. We can be mindful when we're having a conversation with another person. We can be mindful when we're walking. So really trying to make it as simple and as enjoyable as possible. It doesn't have to be long meditations on a cushion.
Look, you said you were a little bit nervous coming on. What I have to say to you is I'm so grateful that you did make the effort to come on, because the things and the words that you've said really have made a difference. I've certainly taken some stuff on board, so thank you so much for that. Do you have anywhere that you can point us to, perhaps, for any sort of information that we can access across our Channel Islands?
Yeah, so Maya Jersey, so that's MYA Jersey, and that stands for Mindfulness and Yoga for All. So this is a local non-profit organisation that's recently been set up, and it's about trying to make yoga and mindfulness accessible to people who wouldn't normally access it. But they also do a drop-in session on a Sunday at 6 o'clock for anybody. Anybody can just come along. It's only for half an hour, and they do usually 2 small practices. So they're quite useful, especially for those people who are just starting to build up those skills of mindfulness and compassion. The website is Maya Jersey, that's all one word, so myajersey.org.je. And also they have a Facebook page.
Lovely, and I imagine they do things online so that you can join online.
Oh yeah, so it's on Zoom, the sessions, yeah.
Exactly. So, and of course, we can be in Guernsey and still access it. There's no problem with that. Absolutely wonderful. It is for all us Channel Islanders, not just Jersey. Wonderful. Look, Steve, absolutely lovely having you on. You've done it. You've done your first one. That means the next time that you're on, you won't need to wiggle your toes so much. Lovely to have you. That is Steve Warmby there, who he works for the government of Jersey for the psychology and wellbeing services.